Okay, I think it's time to get into it. So we do have a brand new character. We have Leon finally coming out. I don't know if you guys have seen the skill preview for all of his stuff, but he honestly looks kind of really good, like intimidatingly good. Here's some sort of quick overview of some stuff that's getting either buffed, nerfed, or adjusted. For the most part, it's a lot of adjustments. Actually, it's just a ton of adjustments. So let's talk about Leon. Leon is ready to submerge into Lumia Island. For the first week, he'll be a little bit cheaper. His passive, or sorry, he'll be a little bit more expensive, not cheaper. Human Torpedo. Leon's movement speed is increased by 5 up to 15%, and his attack speed is increased by 10% up to 20% when he's standing on one of his pools. He generates pools with like a lot of his skills, by the way. Pool Shark. Leon gains 5 up to 15 extra normal attack damage when standing on one of his pools with a 20% attack power ratio. Basically, he's a lot stronger when he's on his pools. He's faster, he attacks faster, and his attacks get a bunch of ENAD, which is actually kind of crazy. And it makes me think that maybe a little bit more attack speed on this build might be kind of good. Resembling fire alarms? That actually sounds sick. Anyway, yeah, a little bit of extra attack speed might really benefit this character, because this is going to end up being quite a lot of damage. If you're hitting, you know, at 100 attack power, which is a pretty common thing to do, you're getting an extra 20 ENAD, you know? On top of your 15 that you're already getting, that's an extra 35 ENAD. That's quite a lot of ENAD. So his auto attacks are going to be doing a lot of damage. It's like kind of Hyunwoo, like Turbo Hyunwoo. Also, his Q, he splashes water in the targeted direction. He puts a line of pools in front of him, dealing 40 up to 180 damage with a 40% ratio. It's an 8-second cooldown, down from 12. This because it's not too bad. That's pretty long range. This is a good standard Q. Cannonball W, passive. Every 5 attacks, a pool is created when attacking an enemy. So another reason to want more attack speed, because you can get even more. You can get even more pools out there. Leon shields his target. That's the passive. It has an active as well. Leon shields his target for 60 to 180 with a 30% attack power ratio damage for 5 seconds. For the next 3 attacks, the shielded character deals 10 up to 50 with a 30% ratio extra damage and creates a pool behind his target. Huh. So this is more of an attack enhancer. Again, like more auto attack enhancement. It's kind of sick. He's very auto attack focused, which is sort of like what you'd expect from Glove. But his numbers look really good so far. Like, genuinely look really good. Duck Dive, his E, this is his movement skill. He instantly creates a pool of water at his location and dives in, then emerges out of a targeted pool, dealing 60 up to 220 with a 35% ratio damage and knocking enemies airborne for 1 second. So it knocks enemies airborne at the destination. I don't know how long pools last for, but it's definitely a pretty long time. Like, I don't know. You can check the skill preview. It's all there. There's also a video that they released in Korea that showed like a bunch of like gameplay of him. Surfs up his R. Leon surfs on a wave, dealing 150 up to 310 damage with a 50% attack power ratio to enemies along the way and knocking them back until the wave dissipates. Enemies knocked into terrain are damaged for 10 up to 20% of their missing HP. It's an execute and are slowed by 70%, decaying over 1.2 seconds. Jesus. Cooldown is 120 down to 80. SP cost is 150. The wave travels a really long distance of 8 meters, and the speed is about 4 meters a second. So, okay, by that logic, that means that the entire duration of the wave is about 2 seconds. Quick math. The wave dimension is also pretty huge. It's like 4 meters wide and 3 meters long. Here's the thing about this skill. The skill seems absolutely insane. Like, borderline broken? It's just nuts. Like, I'm trying to think if there's anything about this that isn't just like absolutely insane. It seems absolutely nuts, especially in team modes. Like, this seems like a team mode beast, which is why you'll see later in the patch that they mention he seems good in team modes, so he nerfed his team mode numbers already. But man, this seems really good. So, long story short, it seems really slow. It's a little bit slow. You definitely want to be tagging people at the start Like you want to like cast this in someone's face, right? And as soon as you hit them with it, they're stuck in it until it's over. Like the slowness is actually a bit of a benefit. Yeah, I'm around. I've been super busy. Like my issue is like I've been preparing for the World Invitational, and I can't really stream our practice because we kind of don't want to stream our practice. At least like this initial practicing, so I kind of just been playing off stream. So yeah, anyway, this character seems nuts. Like kind of insanely good. I think he's gonna be extremely good. Like actually extremely good on release. I wouldn't be surprised if he got nerfed pretty quickly, but we'll see if his numbers end up shaking out to be pretty fair. Keep in mind he also is a glove character, so he has glove skill too. Just seems insane. Just seems insane. New Hawkeye skin. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that, but the new Hawkeye skin will be available for purchase. There's also going to be some heart emotes, and they're super cute. I love these. Shouldn't make them blue because then you can't see them. These are adorable. I love these. So they're finally adding like emotes to the game that are more like character based. You can say anything about Barbara or Kathy? We just started, so we were just on the Leon stuff. Okay. System changes. Must collect items in current area indicator. Items only able to be collected in the current area due to unavailability in other areas will be clearly marked. Example, when you're in Avenue during an Avenue Pond Temple route, Nail will have an indicator since they cannot be found in Pond and Temple. Cloth that can be found in Temple will not be marked. Collecting / hunting materials are excluded. So you can see like with this little shiny thing right here on the stallion medal, that is an indicator saying that you can only find that item in that zone. Also, ignore the fact that this is very clearly Dock and not Temple, but shh, don't worry about it. The point is, this is sick. I love this. It's a feature we've been wanting for a while, so I'm happy to see it. Killing spree effects and kill experience adjustments. I'm just going to summarize this. I don't want to get too deep into the stuff here, but essentially, kill value, like experience value for kills, is being lowered. Also, the kills you get earlier in the game, I believe, are worth a little bit less than the kills you would get later in the game. Additionally, when you have a kill streak going, or at least, yeah, when you have a kill streak going, you have a intensifying fire surrounding your health bar, which is pretty cool. So it's easier at a glance to see like, oh, this team is fed, or this player is fed, I should avoid them. Just a good change overall, because as it stands currently, it's sort of hard for newer players, especially newer to intermediate players, to understand exactly the power level of someone at a glance without, you know, pressing tab and understanding their items and the strength, all that stuff. If you see they have 4 kills, good chance that they're probably dangerous. Okay. Save plan improvements. Recommendation scores will now also be shown in the save plans menu. You can now save routes, some stuff. QOL stuff, nice stuff. Spectator mode. You can now zoom the camera in and out in spectator mode to get a better view of all the action. Let's fucking go. I couldn't be more excited for this. Being able to zoom out during a tournament to catch a wider fight sounds awesome, and the zooming in is going to be pretty fun too, but mainly the zooming out is awesome. Big fan of that. Some slight changes to demotion for inactivity, but it's okay, we don't need to go over that because we are all silver here. Basically, they're just making a little bit more lenient for, I think they're making it a little bit more lenient for inactivity above diamond, because there's only inactivity above diamond. Yeah, I'm not saying anything. Honestly, I don't even know what's being changed here. Let's see. Balance patch system. Buff criteria applicable if one of the following is true. Average kills is too low. Okay, so basically they're making it clear what their statistical exceptions are. Or not exceptions, statistical like breakpoints. If they notice that a character is this much higher than the average for some of these things, if one of these things is even true, whether it be their stats, their top tier stats criteria, this is like general stats versus top tier stats, this being like the higher ranking players, or like, you know, hot fixing a new character. If you want to know exactly what the breakdown as to what they will regard as like the character is overperforming or underperforming, so we're going to look at them, this is what they wanted to sort of show you. Just a little bit of clarity, a little bit of transparency into the balancing process. Not going to go super deep into all of that. Razi, the Enigma took a couple of hits recently, or a couple nerfs recently, and it hit her a bit harder than we wanted. Base HP is going up a little bit by 30. Base movement speed is going up by 0.05. Semtex Bomb Mark II. This is her ultimate. Damage dealt with explosion proportional to max HP, going up by 1% at all ranks. So a very slight buff for Razi. Razi apparently underperforming, and I don't fully disagree. I still think Razi is like problematic as a character design. I don't like her current character design. I think she's kind of insane, but after they changed her regen being a lot weaker, she was a lot more underwhelming, which is fine. Like I think she was still like playable, but she was a little bit more underwhelming. The Razi players in general were having trouble. I don't know. I saw basically every Razi player complaining, which is, I know, pretty par for the course, but like still it was like, I don't know. She probably needed a small buff, so I'm okay with this. Barbara's Sentry Gun will now reward players that destroy it, giving her more incentive to protect it and giving her enemies another target. Barbara her turret is actually going to be a little bit tankier, going up from 12 to 18% of her max HP at rank 1, all the way up to 30% instead of 28% at max strength for her turret. So her turret's a little bit tankier, so it's kind of a buff to the turret. But when the turret is destroyed, the cooldown is going to be increased by 20%, and additionally, the cooldown will not be counted while the skill is active, which is the way it currently works. And it's the reason why the cooldown on her turret felt so short in general. Like, seriously, like that thing could be up super fast after it was destroyed because it started counting the cooldown as soon as it was cast. It wasn't as soon as it was destroyed. So this is a really big nerf to Barbara, in my opinion. Gonna make her significantly weaker, and I'm honestly completely okay with all of these changes. These are the kinds of nerfs I wanted to see for Barbara, and we're finally getting to them. Finally getting them. So I'm just, in general, just a huge fan of this. You can now also gain weapon mastery levels through the Sentry Gun. Sua. Sua was a little bit underperforming despite being a new character. Base defense is going up by 2, and her passive is actually getting a sizable buff, gaining 10 flat damage at rank 1 and gaining 20 flat damage at rank 2. That's honestly pretty big. It's also, no, the ratios are staying the same. That's a pretty sizable buff. It may seem kind of small, but it's actually kind of big. Hey, what's up, Siskim? How you doing? Like, that might be enough to make Sua quite formidable. I already think she's pretty decent in team modes. I've seen, who is it? There's someone playing Sua in like in-houses lately that was just absolutely playing so much better than like everybody else. I don't remember who it was though. Passant? No. Superior. It was Superior. Like really showing some super clean combos on Sua. So I don't think Sua is bad necessarily, but I do think Sua needs to definitely needs to work harder than most of the characters at the moment. Okay, Sylvia changes. Woo! Finally got some Sylvia nerfs. Despite the recent nerfs, Sylvia is still streets ahead. We're nerfing both her burst and her mobility to keep her at the speed limit. Power Slide. This is her bike Q. The damage is going to be reduced pretty significantly. It's losing nothing at rank 1, but at max rank, going from 228 with a 70% ratio down to 200 with a 60% ratio. Also, Sengen-sama, thank you for the sub. Thank you for the 4 months. I seriously appreciate it. Welcome back. Shift gears. This is her, like, just going on to bike mode in general. The fuel consumption per second is going from 5 seconds up to 6, so a nice little nerf to that as well. These are significant changes. Like, they may not seem huge. They're not quite the same caliber as the Dylan nerfs that we saw a patch or two ago. But they're still pretty big nerfs, and honestly, Sylvia has been wildly overperforming, so I'm happy to see this change. I think it's going to be just a good change overall. Big fan. Here, I can like it, don't you worry. I don't have my command set up. There we go. Adriana. Adriana has been performing with the rest of the crew, even with her hands. Even in the hands of her dedicated players, so we're giving her a little bit of love. She's getting a little bit more defense per level. Not too big. Aya. Okay. This change is actually going to change the game forever. This is a huge change to Aya. Aya, her W was doing too much damage, and I think everybody would agree with that. The Aya's W is very obnoxious. The damage potential on that thing is absolutely insane. And as a result, we're seeing a nice nerf here. Aya's burst slash day shot was doing a little bit too much damage, hitting the same person with the skill now does less damage, and we've adjusted some other things to compensate for it. Base attack speed going down a little, or going up a little bit. Steady shot, her W is gaining 5% on the ratio at all ranks, but hitting the same enemy reduces damage dealt by 6% per shot. That, my friends, is a massive, massive nerf. That is going to ramp up so hard. I think Aya's W shoots 10 shots? I think it's 10 shots. Maybe 8, but I think it's 10. The damage is going to be so significantly reduced for repeat shots, which is currently her main source of damage and has always been sort of her X factor in fights. Like Aya, it almost didn't matter if you were behind, it didn't matter if you were, you know, just not as strong in linking, whatever. If you could manage to hit a lot of your W shots, you could turn fights that you were not supposed to win. And even if you were ahead, even if you were doing too much, like your W would just be obliterating anybody if you happen to hit like more than 3 shots. It was insane as a skill. So I'm okay to see it. I'm okay to see it getting nerfed. Honestly, I am. It was too good. Blunt cartridge, her R, is also going to be losing some of the ratio. Minimum charge is losing 10%. Maximum charge is losing 20%. That's it for Aya. Isol, getting a little bit more SP per level. Emma is going to be getting her ultimate cooldown increased by 1 second at all ranks, and Bunny Morph, this is her E, pretty obvious stuff, is going to be getting its cooldown increased by 1 second per rank. So some slight Emma nerfs, and honestly I'm okay with these changes because I think Emma is still just performing a little bit too well. I don't think Emma was quite on the level of Sylvia or Aya in this patch, but she was definitely not far behind, so I'm okay to see her getting a little bit of a nerf here, making her stuff a little bit less spammable. Zahir. After giving Zahir a little bit of a buff, he was too good, basically, is what they're saying. This is a big nerf. This is actually a huge nerf. Movement speed on his passive, instead of being a flat 25% at all ranks, it's now 18, 20, 22 when you manage to trigger the passive. That is a significant nerf to the passive. And then the damage on the passive also is being decreased by a flat 20 at rank 3, but rank 1 is remaining the same. That is a really big nerf to Zahir. Also, it's losing 5% on the ratio. Whew! Big nerfs to Zahir. Honestly, to me, I think the nerf is fine. I think his movement speed was too much. I think this nerf might be a little bit too much, though. Also, considering Emma, in my opinion, is just better, and her nerf is far less. So, like, I would have loved to see the severity of these nerfs be slightly turned around, but I still think this movement speed change, very necessary. I think his movement speed on passive was, like, it was so dumb. It was not good for the game, so I'm glad that got changed. Lightning Kills says, wouldn't it make more sense to do less damage up front? Like, thank God for the nerf, but thematically it seems odd. No, I think it's fine. Like, thematically or not. Balance-wise, realistically, her W is only going to hit one or 3 shots. Like, 1 to 3 shots. That's just sort of how it works. But the fact that she was able to, in some situations, land even more than that, and it would actually just 100 to 0 somebody, not okay. I think it doing full damage on the first few shots is completely fine, and I don't think the damage needed to ramp up. I don't want the full damage to be locked behind hitting multiple shots. I just want the extra shots to be a bonus, which is exactly what they changed. So I'm actually totally fine with that change. I need to sneeze, hold on. Excuse me. Jackie changes. Jackie has a somewhat noticeable difference in performance with different weapons. Obviously, dual swords and dagger doing way too good compared to the other weapons. We're trying to combat that with the base adjustments and some weapon changes. Base attack power is being decreased by 2. Her passive is going to last 5 seconds longer at max rank, but the amount of attack power you're getting from the player/bear kill, it's going to be going down in the late game by a lot. It's losing 8% at rank 3, but the rank 1 is actually getting buffed from 8% up to 14%. So bringing the values a little bit closer together on both sides of the spectrum and hurting her late game a little bit, which I think is valid. Same situation with the wolf/other animal kills. Adrenaline burst, her W. I love this change. she is going to be healing less when hitting a bleeding enemy by up to, it's from 12 down to 10 at rank 1, but at rank 5, 40 down to 30. So losing 10 per hit. The ratio stays the same. The cooldown is also being increased by 1 second. Couldn't be happier with this change. I think that Jackie's healing is one of the most problematic aspects of her kit, especially when utilized with dual swords. Her dual swords healing, absolutely stupid. And this is really what it's meant to sort of reduce, is that amount of healing. Like, I totally am okay with this change. Additionally, we have Hedgen changes. We've adjusted the movement speed of Elemental Bow and Hedgen, so we're adjusting the Charm of the Prophecy a little bit to compensate. She's getting 0.05 additional base movement speed, and her cooldown on her W is being decreased by 2 seconds at rank 1, but it's being increased by 2 seconds at rank 5. So making it a little bit more, similar to these other changes, sort of squishing it more towards the middle. Hyunwoo changes. Depending on his weapon / build, Hyunwoo has often greatly different results. We're moving his straight damage burst to a little bit more of a continuous damage kind of deal. Basically what they're doing is they are nerfing the percentage of defense reduction when you get someone with the E, but making that defense reduction last a little bit longer, going from 15% down to 12% at rank 5. Weapon changes. Okay. This is where the patch gets really spicy. This is where the patch gets like actually kind of nuts. They're introducing 2 new stats to weapons. One of them's kind of, it's not really a stat, but it's just like a aspect of weapons. And the other one is absolutely a new stat. They're adding scaling stats, which is essentially based on the level of your character, the number will be bigger. And then armor penetration, which is obviously armor penetration. We're also adjusting some weapons that have been overperforming a bit or haven't been seeing as much play. I'm not going to go through everything. Oh yeah, and trap damage reduction. No, that's actually true. That should probably be put in here, but it's okay. Doesn't matter. Point is, they're also adding trap damage reduction to EOD boots. Good point. Good point. So, Magnum Bow got a slight nerf, losing 3 attack power. Electron Blaster is our first scaling weapon that we'll be talking about. What you're going to see, and this is going to be the same for all of these scaling weapons, so I don't want to go too deep into the numbers on each of the scalings, but just know that with every single scaling change, as far as I'm aware, it will always go, take the value that it currently is in the game, and then at level 1, it is going to be like, roughly, for example, like in this case, we have the ENAD on Electron Blaster. It's by default right now 31 ENAD. At rank 1, you're basically losing 20 ENAD, and at level 1, you're basically losing 20 ENAD on this thing, so it's down at 13 ENAD at level 1. But at rank 20, level 20, you're gaining about 20 ENAD. So it's going to be 53. So 20 higher than it is currently. So essentially, think of it that way. At rank 10, level 10, you will always be, these weapons will always be at the exact same point as they used to be. So early game they're weaker, late game they're stronger. What weapon does Leon use? He uses Glove. Yeah, he uses Glove. So what we're seeing here is Electron Blaster is going to be 13 ENAD at level 1 and 53 ENAD at level 20. Pretty big change for Electron Blaster. What that means is it's gonna be a lot harder for Rozzy to essentially snowball off of this thing early game. Rozzy was the main builder of Electron Blaster for the most part, so this is mainly gonna change Rozzy, but man, that is some serious late game scaling for Rozzy. So that's kind of interesting. Guitar changes. Bohemian getting a slight nerf, losing 3 attack power and 2 crit chance. This weapon has been seeing a lot of use lately. Oh my god, it's been very, very popular lately, so I'm glad to see it get a little bit of a nerf. Teen Spirit is going to be getting the scaling change, going from 0 ENAD at level 1, or sorry, 2 ENAD at level 1, all the way up to 40 ENAD at level 20. 40 ENAD, guys. Whew. That's a lot of ENAD. Hey, I want to check in game. I want to see what is like, that is like by far the most ENAD on any guitar. Like, it has to be, right? Like, the wall's only at like 10, right? No, the wall's at 2. Okay, what is it? Satisfaction's at 15. Teen Spirit's currently at 25. So yeah, the only guitar, oh my god, 40 fucking ENAD on a guitar could be insane. Like, this is probably just better than Wonderful Tonight late game, I would assume. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I would just assume so. Did these weapon changes make early game TTK not as crazy? For the most part, yes, but it's not affecting every weapon. It's just like basically like one weapon per thing. Kind of making a tier list for new season. I've been planning on doing it, but with these patches, it's hard to really, you know, settle down and do it. But yes, there is one coming. There's absolutely one coming. Dagger changes. Skill amplification per weapon mastery is going to be going down. I've been very, as Alt just said, I've been very busy with the Eternal Return World Invitational. Karnwinen, losing 2% CDR. Mount Slicer losing 3% CDR. Axe changes. Okay, so Axe is finally getting attack speed per level. So it's not going to be quite as slow. I'm okay with Dagger nerfs, by the way. I think Dagger's one of the best weapon types by a huge margin, so I'm totally fine with that change. BMAX is losing some attack power, but gaining some attack power scaling, which is a great change. Scythe, sort of similar situation here, losing 10% skill amplification, but gaining scaling skill amplification, so it'll be up to 30% at rank 20. Assault rifle changes. Type 95, 2 more attack power, 0.5 more vision range. AK-12, gonna be getting scaling attack power. Huh. So it's gonna go up to 108 attack power at level 20, but it starts at 68. It's gonna get 2 more crit chance as well. Rapier. Gonna be losing some normal attack amplification per weapon mastery level. It's a pretty sizable change, actually, going from 4.2% down to 3.8. I'm totally okay with this change. Joyous lost its attack speed, flat attack speed, but it gained scaling attack speed going from basically it's just gonna be higher at rank 20, obviously, but it's gonna be lower until level 12. Movement speed is going to be decreased as well. Hammer, Fang Mace. This is the one, honestly, one of the scaling weapons I'm the most excited for. It's losing 10 extra skill damage, but it's gaining 1 extra skill damage per level. So that means that at level 20, it's 45. It's not a huge increase, but at level 15, being 5 more extra skill damage is a nice little, nice little buff for Magnus. My boy Magnus will be appreciating this quite a lot. So I think I'm okay with this change overall. I think it's gonna be fine. Hammer of Thor, because also Magnus just had scaling issues for sure. It's also gonna help Sua too. Yeah, the yellow flash bring up a good point. It is gonna be helping Sua as well. So I think it's a pretty solid change. Hammer of Thor, losing the attack speed 10%, but it's going to be gaining the scaling, obviously. Don't need to go too deep into that. Peacebringer, going to be our first weapon in the game with armor penetration. This is the Life Steal VF Blood Sample Hammer, the Golden Hammer. It's going to be gaining some armor pen too. I don't know if this is actually going to end up getting used ever, because no one really builds bonk hammers on anybody, but hey, look, it's there. Bat changes. Statue of Soteria. Going to be doing some scaling attack power. Golden Ghost. Okay, this one's kind of spicy. The ENAD on Golden Ghost is going to be pretty high at level 20. The stat transfer is going to use it exactly. Yeah. Golden Ghost is going to be going up to 62 ENAD at level 20. That's pretty big. Pretty big stuff right there. But the thing about Golden Ghost is you do generally want to play off the fact that you have that high ENAD in the early game. So at level 6, this thing is not going to be doing damage, like pretty much anything. Its base attack power is not very high, and you're going to be losing about, let's see here, you're going to be losing about 10 ENAD at level 6, something like that. So it's going to be a little bit rough, but keep in mind Nadine does tend to scale pretty hard. She tends to get a lot of levels pretty quick. She tends to outlevel a lot of the players because she's farming the whole game. So hey, you might actually start seeing that 62 ENAD in the late game. It also might be one of those things where we haven't talked about this at all. These scaling weapons may just be a very popular choice for a late game transition. You may not start with these weapons. You may start with something else and then just route to build it as soon as you hit like level 10-ish, or finish your build, fight wick, whatever. These might be better than a lot of the rare material weapons because they might just scale better. And I'm going to talk about that pretty soon when we get to bows, wherever that is. I didn't skip it, did I? No. Anyway, when I get to bows, we'll talk more about that, but yeah. Dual swords. Logar and Zar, this is the amp dual swords, is losing 2 attack power and 2 extra amp, which I'm totally fine with because I think this weapon is absolutely insane at the moment. Shuriken changes. Ooh, a little bit more normal attack amplification per weapon mastery. Hey, that's actually helping out these auto attack Shuriken builds a little bit more. Frost Venom Dart is losing 25% of its crit strike damage. Mystic Jade Charm is going to be becoming a scaling weapon. Don't need to talk about that. It's pretty linear scaling. Fuma Shuriken is losing 3% CDR. Yikes. That hurts me on a spiritual level. I've been loving Fuma Shuriken builds on Sisela as sort of a fun little side project lately. That hurts me, but I know this is mainly targeted towards Emma. Emma is the one who's been abusing this the most. Fuma Shuriken is very, very common to see on Emma, especially on high-end Emma play. So this is mainly meant to hurt Emma, which I think is completely valid, because I think Emma is a little bit too strong right now. So this is a good change overall. Can't complain too much. Petal Torrent, going to be losing some attack power, 10 attack power being lost, and 10 Enad. This weapon has been overperforming pretty hard. As Sisela has been using this with great efficiency lately, I am totally fine with seeing a Petal Torrent nerf, because I think it, compared to every other weapon on Sisela, is vastly overperforming. Like, every other weapon is underperforming except for Petal Torrent, so I'm totally okay with this. Mono Hoshizou. This is the Lifesteal Sword. Lifesteal two-handed sword, losing a lot of early game attack power, but gaining attack power scaling. This weapon's actually kind of good. Now, Alex didn't get any changes. Alex is honestly kind of fine right now. I'll be honest, I think Alex is perfectly viable. Like, legit, I think he's fine. He's harder to play, but and I don't think he's... I wish they would focus his gameplay a little bit more on his like weapon swapping, because right now you kind of just like build him with a two-handed sword and don't do anything else. But hey, it is what it is. Speaking of which, Mono Hoshizou, this is a sword that you tend to transition into. No, I'm not saying you suck. Like, I think Alex is hard to pick up and play well, but I think if you buffed him too much right now, he would be really problematic, because I think he is in a fine position. He's just hard to play. Mono Hoshizou, again, since you transition into this sort of mid to late game, this is not that much of a nerf. Like, it's a nerf, but it's not that much of a nerf. You're going to end up with even more attack power late game, and honestly, I'm going to run the numbers real quick. And trust me, it's not going to be too hard to run those numbers. Man, who in the game has a two-handed sword? Why am I not?
96.
Fiora. Okay, I know it's 96, but I'm trying to see like Dinesleaf. Dinesleaf is at 83 attack power. That's yeah, Alex, good point. Dinesleaf is at 83 attack power with 25% lifesteal. Mono Hoshizou is also at 25% lifesteal. So, like, late game, I don't actually see Dinesleaf being better than Mono Hoshizou. The only advantage that it has is that healing reduction. Who's building Mono Hoshizou right now is Alex and Fiora mainly. Those are the two main characters. Jackie's been building it somewhat. Yuki's been building it somewhat. Muya Hoshizou, as the Koreans call it. Yeah, it's been mostly seeing a lot of use on Fiora. So it's pretty decent size nerf. Wait, no, not nerf, buff to Mono Hoshizou. I think this is a buff, like really. Like you just build your Twantian or your Plasma Sword until you're ready to pivot into Mono Hoshizou, and by the time you're ready to pivot into Mono Hoshizou, you're probably high enough level that it's just back to the way it was, or better. And I think it's gonna be better than Dinesleaf overall, because it just has more damage. So this might see some nerfs at some point. I would not be surprised at all. Sniper. Intervention is losing some of its attack range, going from 1.5 down to 1. The vision range is being increased, though, to compensate. Good riddance, honestly. I'm so sick of Intervention. I don't even think it's that good. It's just obnoxious. If this weapon was ever actually too good, it would be so unfun to play against and so like unhealthy for the game that I'm glad that they're lowering its attack range right away. Attack 50. Gonna be... Oh. Huh. It's got 2% less lifesteal. I'm gonna sneeze, hold on. But the attack power is scaling up a little bit. That might actually make it pretty good for Bernice. Because he had scaling issues, and this might fix that quite a bit. So, I'm kind of a fan of this. Spirit changes. Fangshin Huaji. It's now scaling amp. Nothing really changed other than that. Genshin Silvergun. Ooh. Genshin Silvergun is actually going to become a scaler as well. Okay. Huh. It's actually kind of spicy. Dragon Guandao. Losing 100 max HP, but it's becoming scaling max HP. Holy cow, this thing is going to have 400, it's going to have 420 max HP at max rank. That's silly. Cosmic Biden is just gaining 3 attack power, no other changes. Whip, Bloody Ninetales is becoming A very strange whip. You build this late game anyway, so this is actually a good change. However, it's losing its amp altogether, and it's just gonna go up to 60 skill damage at max rank, which is kind of silly. Tonfa gonna get scaling defense. Throw changes. We're just seeing nerfs across the board to the entire Ruthenium Marble tree, losing 5 attack power on Spiky Bouncy Ball, 4 attack power on Flubber, and 3 attack power on Ruthenium Marble. Bow changes. This one is spicy to me. This one's actually gonna be super, super relevant for squads. Golden Ratio Bow. It's gonna go up to 30% amp at max rank. And keep in mind they just released a bow recently called Argyrotoxis, which is 120 attack power with 25% amp. Does this make Golden Ratio even better? Like, I think Argyrotoxis right now is a strict upgrade to Golden Ratio by a mile. The damage you get when you pivot to that bow is almost double. It's huge on Nadine specifically, because that's really who's using Golden Ratio in the first place. So that's already a really big upgrade. However, the Golden Ratio change here, it's gonna be comparable on the skill amp percent. It's still gonna be far less attack power, but it does have a solid 15% CDR on it. And I'm curious if having identical to slightly higher amp and also having the CDR attached to it is going to make it just better than Argyrotoxis. Keep in mind your Nadine is the one that you're funneling anyways for most of these like amp Nadine comps. So you're going to have high levels, so your Golden Ratio is going to be like high percent amp in the late game. I think this bow change might be a big buff to Golden Ratio. Like legitimately, it might be a huge buff to Golden Ratio. Also, Elemental Bow can be a little bit slower. Twin Bow, it's going to be gaining scaling attack power and losing some of its attack speed. Fail Not is getting scaling attack speed. Okay, armor changes. We're gonna see some scaling stuff here as well. We're also gonna be seeing trap damage reduction on EOD boots, and we also looked into some items that are giving attack range and adjusted them as needed. Mithril armor, 5 more defense, but 0.1 less movement speed. Kind of a huge fan of this change. I think the movement speed on Mithril armor is absurd, going from, you know, no movement speed on any chest piece generally, unless you're talking about Rocker's Jacket or Butler's suit, and going up to 0.2 on Mithril armor is absolutely insane. It's a huge amount of movement speed, so this change is really good. Dragon Dobok is losing 0.5 attack range, but it's gaining some offensive stats to compensate and defensive stats to compensate. I'll be honest with you guys, aside from the Yuki players who are going to complain because their character got nerfed, I think this change is really good. I think in general, this piece of gear has been disproportionately advantageous to melee characters and creates some really unhealthy play patterns. Yuki's should not be autoing people from like range. It just looks so bizarre. Same with axes as well. It looks bizarre. It's not intuitive at all to any player, especially new players. Getting hit from that range is just absurd, and just from a balance perspective, it's just not healthy. So I'm glad this is getting nerfed. However, I kind of wish this would get changed so this is only affecting melees. I would be totally okay if it was like healing reduction that has specifically like a worse value for range characters. Have Dobok just have a worse value for melees. I would be totally okay with that. Like, have this nerf only affect melees? Sure. That would be a change I'd be fine with, but this is fine too. Arm changes. Creed of the Night. Less attack power, more defense. Bracelet of Scotty. Scaling max HP. Leg changes. Out of combat, movement speed on Maverick Runners got nerfed. EOD boots lost 6 defense, but gained 8% trap damage reduction. Huh. Finally true to the original. I'm pretty sure the EOD boots in the original game had trap damage reduction, and additionally, EODs were just kind of lame as a gold foot, a gold, you know, boots. It was just kind of out of place. Like all the other golden boots had something special about them. You know, red shoes, the only lifesteal shoe. Glacial shoes had amp and a ton of out-of-combat movement speed and a ton of, you know, regeneration, all that stuff. Hermes were just fast as hell and very defensive. And then you had EODs that were just sort of shoes. They're like tachyons without CDR. Like they were just kind of weird, and not in a good way. So now they're a little bit more unique, which makes them a little bit more justified being gold. Accessories. We have some new accessories. I'm gonna summarize this for you. Sniper Scope is getting a little bit of a change. It's getting nerfed. 2 less attack power, 1 less vision range, but something builds out of it now. You have a Marksman Handbook, which is short crossbow with Fedorova, 8 attack power, plus 0.35 attack range. And then it all combines into Hawkeye, which is an accessory that builds out a Marksman Handbook, Handbook plus Sniper Scope, 8 attack power, 1.5 vision range, and 0.5 attack range. This thing is all, first of all, it's a brand new, builds out a Sniper Scope, and it's an attack range accessory. However, I think this thing kind of sucks. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me. The stats here are underwhelming. Like, the attack range is great, sure, but it's only 0.5. Additionally, 8 attack power, you're not going to feel that, and no other stats. It's not making you that much stronger at all. And you really need some good stats coming off of your accessories. Compare it, the most obvious comparison will be to Buccaneers Doubloon, which is a relatively new accessory. 15 attack power, 12% crit chance, 6% lifesteal. This thing's a whole package. This thing has really, really strong stats, and you're really going to feel the power difference between having it and not having it. If someone comes running at me and they have a Hawkeye, or they don't have a Hawkeye, I will not be able to tell the difference for most situations. Yeah, and it's significantly less vision range than Sniper Scope. It's actually kind of just worse than Sniper Scope. It's the same attack power as the Sniper Scope, far less vision range, and you get a little bit of attack range for it. And I don't think that the attack range is that worth it. Looks like a cool beam build. I mean, sort of, except for the fact that, like, keep in mind, that's really just compensating for the fact that, where was it? Dobok lost this attack range, so you're not even, like, reaching a new value that hasn't been seen before. It's still the same value, it's just shifted. I think this thing kind of sucks, and you're definitely going to see buffs for this. There's no way this thing is good. I'm just being honest. There's no way this thing is good. Food and drink changes. Flower liquor, a little bit more SP regen, herbal liquor, whiskey cocktail, white Russian, all getting a little bit more SP. Hawkeye, less vision range. Oh, cool. He recon drones. Specifically, by the way, I do have confirmation on this for those who are curious. This is just recon drones. This does not apply to EMP drones. Recon drones have a higher usable range and immediately... Wait. I don't know if this is use range or radius. I assume it's use range. And it's immediately usable without a casting animation. You don't have to, like, sit there and rub the ground. You immediately get to throw it out there. It's like a scan sweep, comes out really fast. This thing is great. Big fan of this change. I was like super disappointed when recon drones came out, and they just kind of, they were such a momentum loss. You couldn't chase somebody with it like into a bush to see where they were going. Big fan of this change. Also kind of distinguishes recons versus EMPs. EMPs are not just strictly better than recons now. Recons have their place. They have their advantage. I'm a fan of that. Area changes. We adjusted some spawn positions. No, we adjusted some positions of boxes near spawn points so players can better plan their routes. A few boxes that were deleted from the road near school have been reverted. Wait. I don't know which. These are all in the avenues. Probably the car and the stuff by the van, maybe? I'd assume that's what it is. Or maybe both of the cars, who knows. There's a total of 2 more items in avenue due to these changes. We've adjusted the position of some chickens that block boxes. Specifically, I assume this is the one that was below the trash bags up in that corner in the top. Early game will be more chill now in EU. I don't know. Is EU like super aggro early game? Maybe. As always with new items, we adjusted some stuff. Not going to go over all of these, but you can check them out if you want. Something that you should pay attention to is more fans in avenue, more short rods in dock. What else we got? More short rods in pond. Short rods in general are just like in very like low supply. People need short rods and they're just like not in any of these zones. Few more short crossbows in forest because of that new accessory. Also seeing some Fedorovas in hotel. Also gonna be... what else? That's it. Kind of it for the significant stuff. Solo mode adjustment removal. Basically, summarize. This is saying having adjustments to every like game mode, including solo, is just like not really something that they want to do. So they're trying to shift away from that. As a result, you'll see Shuriken Hedgen is losing its adjustments in solo. Wait, no, sorry, its adjustments in solo. Yeah. Damage taken is back to normal. Leon is coming out with 6% reduced damage in squads, because he is insane in squads. From what I can tell, his kit looks absolutely nuts. His utility is insane with that ultimate, so he's already coming out at 94%. Adela is losing 4% in squads as well. She is very much overperforming in squads at the moment, so I'm okay with this change. Jackie on dual swords, also losing 3% in squad. Have I played Leon? No, I have not. Unfortunately. I could, but I just haven't. Hedgen. Damage dealt in duos is going down. Ooh, this is for Shuriken. Damage dealt in squads is going down as well by 3%, because she was at 100%, which is actually insane. And her damage taken in squads is also going to be going up a little bit. She was at 90%, going up to 94. I like these changes. I don't know if you guys know much about the squad meta in Korea, but I do, because I've been playing there a lot lately. Shuriken Hedgen is in almost every team. She is way overrepresented in the top rankings. I think she has like 10 in the top 10. Let me check. I know 2 of those are the same person, but like, I just want to double check to make sure I'm not slinging false facts here. Leaderboards, ranked. Squads. Yeah, in the top 10, there are 3 Shuriken Hedgens. Pretty crazy stuff. There used to be another one, but they played more Shukai lately, so now it's saying Shukai. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that they're, you know, Shuriken Hedgen really, really good in squads. Why is that? Because it's Hedgen, but she was dealing 100% damage instead of, you know, the 82% that Bo did. She had 18% more damage dealt when she played Shuriken. And Hedgen has just got great utility. Tons of AoE CC, tons of AoE damage. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Jeffrey Lunatic. Exactly. You gotta be paying attention to those values. Like, before you make a comp, you have to research the values of your characters. And that's one of the issues with the game, honestly, is like having to have this surprise of like, oh, if I pick Bo, I'm dealing 18% less damage than if I pick Shuriken. Like, it's hard to keep track of those things, but if you're playing competitive squads, you do have to pay attention to that. That's why Shuriken Hedgen is so overrepresented in squads. She's also taking 10% less damage, which is a huge damage reduction. Anyways. So that's a nice nerf to Hedgen. Also, Bo's getting kind of compensated, buffed a little bit. Going up from 84 to 86 in duo, and 82 to 84 in squads. Features on watch. We're keeping an eye on Wiccaline, because she's a little bit janky. Keeping an eye on extra normal attack damage equipment, and keeping an eye on weapon skills for axe, hammer, and sniper rifle, like usual. Planned improvements, accelerated tempo meta. EXP gain reduction for early kills have been applied this patch. Bushes will be added or improved for areas with high kill ratios. Did EB just got gutted? No, EB got changed. It's way more ENAD at higher ranks, but way less at early ranks. And the rest is just bug fixes. I don't want to go through all of them, but holy cow, that's a lot. Some good stuff in here, by the way. You should kind of read through it. It's pretty good. Guys, that's gonna be it. We did it. Not the shortest patch, but also not the longest. However, I will say, this is one of my favorite patches of all time. I loved the last patch a lot, but tell me, like, genuinely come to me and say, there are 3 things in this patch that are not good changes. This patch hits the nail on the head for like almost every single balance issue in the game. The problematic characters got nerfed. I think some of the weaker stuff got buffed, and I think the change to the scaling weapons is very interesting. I'm not saying it's necessarily a fantastic change, and I think some of the numbers might be a little bit over tweaked for like Teen Spirit being at like crazy high ENAD for high ranks. That's concerning to me, but for the rest of it, I think it's all good. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. I'd be curious.